Hi, and welcome to this brief introduction into how to set up your Shopify store. Now, if you haven't done so already, by all means, feel free to go in and gain access to your store by going to shopify.com. Once you do that, you'll gain access to this dashboard. Now, to gain access to your actual settings, you want to go to the left side navigation, and way at the bottom over here, you're going to see settings. So go ahead and click that. Now, this is the actual settings for your store. Now, bear in mind, when you talk about your store, there's 3 variations that you have to sell on Shopify. The first is actually having a physical online having an online store is option number 1. Option number 2 is having a physical store location where people come to that store location and make purchases, and that is called in the Shopify world as point of sale. And option number 3 is buy buttons, similar to PayPal buttons, where you create these buttons for people to purchase merchandise from your store. So those are the 3 different types of versions of sales channels that you can have in your store. These settings apply to all of them. Now, with that being said, when you first gain access to your store, it's going to have the dashboard up front that's going to have the little tasks that you have to complete. Not all of these tasks are required, but you'll see that. We covered that in another section. But you're really going to want to get into your settings section and get into the nitty-gritty to really establish your store. May look like a lot of information initially if you're new to Shopify, but no worries. As you navigate through the system, you're going to see that it is not, in fact, overwhelming, but actually very user-friendly system to work off of. Now, here initially, there is certain information that we've hidden from this video for sensitivity purposes that you can't see. Just bear in mind, certain pieces of information have been hidden. Now, with that being said, this is the store details tab, which is the first one. It obviously says what is your store name, what is the store email, and the store phone number. Now, bear in mind that you do have the ability, again, in later details to display certain pieces of information to your customers. You don't necessarily have to display this phone number if you so choose. If you do, in fact, you are going to have a feature where you'll be asked if in fact you want to actually display that specific phone number to your customers. And we'll delve deeper into other sections for that. Now, with that being said, with this one here, it's just your basic information that's applicable to the purchase that you made for Shopify. Billing information is if you have a company name, what is the legal business name here? What is the business address? Now, what you will find for legal purposes, that whatever your business address is, if you are in fact sending emails, or the Shopify system sends emails to consumers, say the templates that says, hey, you left items in your cart, are you interested in continuing and finishing your purchase? Anytime you send an email to individual customers, just for legal purposes and to adhere to spam policies, they are going to in fact include your business address. So I want to point that out. There are certain places that you cannot hide your business address just for legal purposes and to adhere to the rules and regulations. So with that being said, moving further down to store currency, it goes without saying that obviously people are going to make purchases. Double check this information, US currency. If in fact it turns out that you need to change the currency, you have the ability to do that through store details and going into store currency. Time zone, you definitely want to make sure that's updated if it's in fact the default setting is not correct. Now, when it comes to order ID, they do give you the option if you want to add something as a prefix and a suffix. If you notice here, they give you an example of the order IDs that will appear. They pretty much pre-designed this for you, but they do give you the option if you want to add like an A to the front of your orders, or if you want to add a suffix towards the end. You do have the little bells and whistles that you can do right there. Now, to go to plans, again, we want to make sure, let's just say, leave the page. We didn't want to save this. Here we go. Into plans, we have the ability to actually choose the plan that we want. We have the ability to change the plan, the billing cycle, all the information by clicking the change plan. We even have the option down over here to deactivate the store if we so choose. Make sure that you view the terms and policies of your specific plan, and if you choose to deactivate your store, make sure as to the fact that you confirm whether or not it's refundable or not. So check out with that. You can also even contact customer support. Billing information, again, is just telling you when is your next bill cycle, or right down over here, subscription status, where you are today, what are you going to be billed in the future. Again, just giving you an indication if you've had additional purchases through the store, which in fact you'll find that if you want to do purchases for the actual sections that you purchase for $9 a section. As you design your store and you like the functionality, you're going to find that if you do these app purchases, they're going to appear here under the bills history right over here. You can view all billing history right over there. Users and permissions, again, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's going to show who was the last user to log in, when was the timestamp in which they logged in. It's going to allow a certain number of staff members that you can add. In this specific basic plan, you have up to 2 people that you can add. If you want to do that, just click Add Staff, and it'll show you here with their name, their email address, and their permission in what they can actually physically do, and if they have the ability to manage and install apps and channels on your specific stores. So look at those features and make sure that the credentials are correct before adding a member. Now, moving on further down here, collaboration. Again, anyone can send collaboration requests. These gives designers and developers access to Shopify admin. They don't count towards your staff limit. Learn about collaborators. I want to emphasize this again, that make sure you truly understand if you give a collaborator, say a developer, access to your store, understand, talk to the tech support. They're available 24/7. Talk to them. Find out exactly if you click a feature on that anyone can send a collaboration request, or only people with collaboration request codes can send collaboration requests. Make sure you understand what does it really mean by giving a developer access. What will they have access to? What won't they? Bear in mind that you do have sensitive billing information in here. You have access to your actual passwords, any type of recovery codes. Make sure that you truly understand the security features if you in fact give someone access to develop your Shopify store. Payments over here, again, this is, again, with Shopify, it allows you to accept payments from various individuals, consumers, allowing you to accept Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover. You even have the ability for Apple Pay, Google Pay, you name it. Now, with that being said, it does obviously charge you a certain fee for these transactions, which you will see are pretty common in today's market for fees. You have the ability to establish the bank account that you want your payments sent to, which is your own personal business account, if in fact you have a business for your Shopify store, or whatever account you want to receive your money in. So keep that in mind. Here with the view payouts icon, you have the ability to see what in fact are the history of payouts and when you expect the transactions of the money to receive the money from your store. Again, here you have PayPal functionality. You can in fact establish PayPal functionality to accept as additional payment methods from your customers. You do have to go through that setup process to do that. There's going to be a transaction fee that they'll show you. Same thing with Amazon Pay. There is the status active if you've activated it with Amazon and the transaction associated with that. If you have alternative methods of payments that you want to allow and it's allowed here, you can have the add manual payment method through here. Again, visit the Shopify App Store to install one if there's payment customization needed. Shopify has an app store that you can find a lot of third-party apps to help support your Shopify store. At some juncture or other, it goes without saying, you're going to visit no different than Apple's store. You're going to visit the Shopify store to really see all the bells and whistles of all these apps that you can add to make your store more robust, more customer friendly. Everything and anything that you need would be found under apps. Now, with that being said, moving further down, we have checkout. Checkout is really the experience for your customers and whether or not they're going to see certain information from your store information. As I mentioned, customers contact method. Here you're going to say basically, how do you want your customers to be able to contact you? Is it via phone number or email, or just email? And in this case, if it's just email, then you would just say save and just email. Do you require customers to log in to their account before checkout? Now, bear in mind, you have to think of customer experience. If you're requiring someone to log in before they actually can shop at your store, it may not be the most friendliest experience for them. So I'm not necessarily an advocate of that feature, but if for whatever reason you want to establish that, by all means, feel free to do that. When it comes to customer information, when they first sign up, you have the option to say, okay, I have a new customer, but what do I want to require from them in order to establish them as a customer? Now, obviously, you have the option here. It says maybe you only want to require the last name. Again, bear in mind that you're going to have customer information. If you have 2 customers with the same last name and no first name, it doesn't necessarily allow you the opportunity to identify who that individual is. So maybe you may not want to opt that route. It may not be the best route. Here, obviously, this store was established to require first name and last name. You do have to make the company name optional, because remember that, in fact, it's not always a given that people are companies. And more importantly, if you don't include is recommended. I don't necessarily agree with that. Again, everyone has their own opinion. If someone is making a purchase and they're making a purchase where they are an actual physical company, that transaction needs to be recorded to the company's name, because that is the standard practice of accounting and GAAP out there. So although Shopify says it's don't include company name, I would say keep the company name optional. Again, it's up to you. But bear in mind, what's going to happen is if that is a company and they have a company credit card, you're now telling that person that they can't really shop in your store, because you've now not included the company name as a field of requiring for customer information. So they need their records to be accurate, and if they're purchasing as a company, those records need to reflect that in fact the purchase was made from the company. So I would recommend putting that as optional. Address line number 2 is always optional, that's recommended. And the shipping address phone number, is it required, optional, don't include? That's up to you. If you encounter shipping issues, I would tend to think, especially if you're shipping via FedEx and UPS, those carriers are going to want an actual phone number to associate it to that customer. So it's highly recommended, in my opinion, to say that it's required. But again, it's up to you. Now, when it comes to marketing options, again, you have email features that you can set. Let customers sign up for email or SSM marketing, and they can do the email. Again, it's up to you if you want to make this optional. If you don't want that as far as an option, then you can just unselect that. Again, this is SMS, is text messaging. If you don't have that feature, you don't want that feature, by all means, feel free to have that unselected. Now, tipping, again, if it's applicable to tipping, if you do not, our standard store, typically you would probably agree that tipping is not very customary in purchasing stores from e-commerce stores. So again, even though they have the feature here, make sure it's applicable, because what you don't want to do is turn off customers. Address collection preferences, use the shipping address as the billing by default. Again, having a default makes it user-friendly. Even the use address auto completion, it makes it maybe more helpful for the customers, in which case I just select these 2 to make it more accessible to customers. Now, ordering processing. After an order has been paid, it gives you a couple various options. Automatically fulfill the ordered items, automatically fulfill only the gift cards of the order, don't fulfill any items automatically. Again, if you have gift cards at a point of service, you don't want to select automatic fulfillment, because you may not have the gift cards in stock, or you may. That is depending on how you set your features of inventory. Here you may want to set don't fulfill any order line items automatically, and then manually, but for gift cards maybe you just want it automatic. So I want to emphasize this again, that what I don't recommend doing is saying fulfill the orders automatically, because remember, if you're telling the customer you've automatically fulfilled the order, it means that you actually physically ship that product to them. What you don't want to do is have a lot of angry customers. And again, you want to adhere to accounting principles. Again, I'm not emphasizing and giving financial advice. This is not why I'm saying this. But it goes without saying that you can't tell a customer that you've actually sent and shipped them the product unless you physically sent them and shipped them the product. So fulfilling that automatically ordered lines is not recommended. That being said, it says after an order has been fulfilled and paid, or when all items have been refunded, automatically archive the order. The order will be removed from your list of open orders. Again, if it's been fulfilled and paid, you've already completed the order. It's okay to archive that order because it's no longer an open order. So it's okay to automatically set that. So that's why that checkbox has been made. Abandoned checkout emails, that's in a different section. That just basically is those automated emails that if someone entered in some products in their cart and for whatever reason they want to go ahead and they leave the site, you want to remind them and send them an email and say, hey, you left some items in your cart, are you interested in completing it? This gives you the ability to access those automated emails to customize those emails. Order status page, again, just additional customization. You can read through that. Managing checkout languages, depending on how your language is set up, you do have the ability to set up additional languages over here through manage checkout languages. And checkout rules, there are no apps installed with rules. Again, a lot of this has to do with apps, and you want to set certain rules onto that. Now, in regards to customer accounts over here is pretty much, remember that when it comes to customers, according to tech support in 2023, they've said that you have an unlimited number of customers. As to whether or not that's true, I'm not sure of everyone's experience, but that's what they say. But with that being said, that you do have a login experience for your customers that you need to basically tell Shopify how you want it to handle. You have the ability to do two ways of logins for customers. You can have them where they send in, they put in their email and they get a code via their email, and in which case, once they have verified the code from their email, they have access to the actual online account. Or you have the traditional way where you're requiring customers to enter in their username and password. However you so choose to do that user experience is up to you. If you need additional information as to the user experience, how does it really work, reach out to the customer support, or even more importantly, just set up your customer settings. Try it out yourself through your own user experience. Go to your own store, pretend to be a customer, and see what that user experience is like for the first time, and make sure that is in fact what you want to do. In this case, customers log in with a one-time code sent to their email. They don't need to create an account or a password. It really is up to you. If you want to have established accounts for customers, then set up the traditional way. If you're not going to require people to create accounts and you're going to make it optional, then set up the feature for the login one-time code sent to their email. Again, it doesn't mean just because customers log in with the one-time code, they don't need to create an account or password. It doesn't mean that they won't be able to. It just means that you're giving them the option that they don't have to. Now, branding, again, customize the checkout. If you go into here, you're going to allow the ability to add logos, change the colors and the look of your theme of your checkout page. Again, just to brand your store in accordance with your theme of your brand image and the colors that you often use to brand yourself. Self-serve returns, again, allow customers to request and manage returns on their own from their accounts. Customize, your customers can return with return rules. You may get a little complicated with the return rules. Essentially, you're giving them free reign to actually send returns in. It's okay to do that, but just bear in mind that you truly understand by going in and being the actual test customer into your own store and seeing what that customer experience is like to see if that's something you want. Now, with that being said, if you require return authorizations, obviously you wouldn't want to set this feature on because you want to control the customers coming to you, requesting a return authorization, granting that request, and then them being able to make the return. So in which case, if that's how you operate, you would make sure that this feature is not enabled. Now with the URL, again, you can share a customer experience here by sharing this URL to your customers to give them access to their new customer accounts. So if you want someone to go ahead and anywhere you'd like to give customers access to new customer accounts, you just basically have to send them this link. It'll give them the ability to physically actually create an online experience. And we can go ahead and just see what that looks like right now. So, 1 second. If you notice here, it has to be customized still, but it says basically enter in your email and we'll send you a login code. This is what the experience is going to look like for the individual if they want to gain access to the store. Okay. So with that being said, moving further down into shipping and delivery. When it comes to shipping and delivery, it goes without saying that you do in fact have the ability to edit the shipping in accordance to how you so choose. If you want to do flat rate shipping, that's fine. If you want to do set shipping, all you have to do is right up at the top here, general shipping rates. There is an arrow. Just go ahead and click that. and it's going to enter into general profiles. But if you scroll on down here, all products is going to be right here. But if you scroll down here, it's going to show you the shipping origin. Again, you need to tell people where are you going to ship the products from. So that is something that you want to make sure is updated and correct. You can actually establish certain rules according to the shipping. If you have a free shipping off the certain dollar figure as a condition, like in this store, if you purchase something 50 and up, obviously this will be free. In this case, if you want to edit it, like in this case, it's really 50 over anything over $50. So it's $50.01. And here, economic rate is anything with a maximum price of 50. It's a $15 charge. So it's pretty simple. In fact, it just really should be $8. Actually, I think it was $9. Okay, so that being said, that updates that. So that's an easy way to update that right there. So that gives you an understanding. You can, again, if you want to create new rates, just click Add Rate, and it'll allow you to establish your own rates and apply your own conditions. So go through that and set that up. Now, if you do not accept international sales, when you get into the shipping, it's going to let you know that you do not have the ability, that people do not have the ability to ship products overseas. Maybe you're just selling products in the US. And if that's the case, you have the ability to already have the international inactive, that market. So it's going to know right away that someone's not capable of shipping that to, say, Canada. Now, if you wanted to accept Canada, by all means, you can select Show All Internationals. When you have your market, just tell the market for international market that the only Canada applies to your market under international. So you do not necessarily have to make it all inclusive. You can select from the options as far as international markets as to who you're going to accept in that market. So with that being said, when it comes to shipping, it goes without saying that as you see here, shipping zone is for domestic in the United States. You're going to have a separate section for shipping for international sales if it's an active international market. So that pretty much is it for this. I mean, you can delve deeper into all the other little bells and whistles, shipping settings, even like creating zones. It's just, a lot of information here, but it's good information in a good way. Let's go ahead and save this right now very quickly because we updated the shipping. It says that it's been updated. Let's get out of here. So, okay, so local delivery, again, local pickups. Again, just you have to tell customers, keeping it very simple. Where are you shipping? What's the city? What's the state? What's the zip code in which they can expect the information? Now, when it comes to Shopify, they actually give you discounts into shipping. So you're going to see all that good information over here. They're going to have you the ability to create a actual print list, a packing slip from using these vendors right here and actually calculate shipping rates. All you have to do is say calculate shipping rates to buy and print discounted shipping labels from Shopify, and just click that. It'll give you more information. But if you calculate shipping rates, it's going to take you into the Shopify calculator. You enter in the dimensions of that product, where it's shipping from, where it's going to, how you want to ship it, and it's going to say calculated discounted rate. So what it's going to do, basically, it's going to take the product that you're shipping and give you an estimate of where what the cost is to ship it via the post office, via UPS and DHL Express. Again, there are other additional features that if you have upgraded plans that you can look through. But it's a very user-friendly. Now, would I say that in reality discounts up to 72% or 67%? Based off what I've seen, I would say that's a little over the top. I haven't seen 67% discounts on the post office shipping rates. I'm not sure what world they're using to calculate that you can get up to 67% off post office rates. I haven't seen it, but maybe there's something that I haven't seen. Now, with that being said, getting into this with taxes. Now, with taxes, with Shopify, it's very simple. You have to actually have a sales tax ID established with a specific state in order for you to actually account for that specific state and collect tax on that specific state. So again, Shopify does not take accountability for filing the taxes on your behalf. Let me emphasize that with an exclamation point. They are not going to take accountability for sales tax. What they are saying is you have to have a legitimate sales tax ID with that specific state. Key that information into the system. Once that legitimate sales tax ID has been established, that is when they will trigger that specific state based off that sales tax percentage you put in there and that legitimate sales tax ID, and collect on that sales tax and remit that sales tax to you for you then to send that sales tax information and make the proper filings yourself. Now, that's the first portion. The second portion I want to point out is they also have the feature where they obviously check the categories of specific items like apparel, electronics. And what they will do is to say, hey, we know in the state of Ohio or the state of Idaho, this is the specific rate for an electronic item. We noticed that people are purchasing it from your store. We also noticed you didn't establish a sales tax ID for this. FYI, according to our information, technically you should be collecting sales tax on this. I'm letting you know now, so you can go ahead and file for the proper sales tax IDs in that specific state. Now, I want to emphasize this with a humongous exclamation point and also point out I'm not giving this as tax advice or financial advice. That is not why I'm saying this, and I am not a tax accountant to be giving you this advice. I'm only using my own experience by telling you what Shopify has said. That in reality, as and many other platforms have said, that it's not for you to collect sales tax. Sales tax obligation does not just apply to, hey, I have my business in the state of Pennsylvania, thus I only need to collect the state of Pennsylvania sales tax. That is not true. You have to collect sales tax. Every state has specific rules on how to collect sales tax and when to collect sales tax. Certain states have out their requirements that if you have a certain amount of sales in that specific state, you have to collect sales tax. So if you make, say, an example, 10 transactions in ABC state, you, according to ABC state, you now have to start after a certain threshold, start collecting sales tax. Why do I point that out? Don't assume that in fact that you do not have to collect sales tax on states outside of where your business is located. The good thing is with Shopify, they will track that information, but you also have all the responsibility on your shoulders to properly categorize your items and make sure they're properly categorized into correct buckets, and then also responsible to monitor the tracking results of taxes through this tab right over here, taxes and duties, to view this report up here, right up here, as you notice here, from Shopify that tells you whether or not, as an FYI, you should soon start collecting tax in this specific state. So that's pretty much everything. Again, it wasn't intended for tax advice or financial advice. I'm not an expert in this matter. I don't claim to be an expert, but I do want to tell you that Shopify does take care of bells and whistles, but don't always rely on them. And it really is, everything is up to you and remitting those taxes to the appropriate states. Now, with that being said, moving further down here into locations, you have the ability to establish various locations by clicking Add Locations for your store. Over here, we went into gift cards again. If you have gift cards that you set up through the gift card platform that we covered in other sections, you can go ahead and edit there. You always have that option there. Now, if you notice here with gift cards, essentially, if you created gift cards, you're allowing certain gift cards to be as a form of a checkout in this screen right here, like Apple Wallet passes are deactivated, auto expirations never expire, just certain settings to allow them to be as a form of payment. Under markets is exactly what I had said. What are you accepting as far as international? If you are accepting any specific countries, allowing you to click into this arrow right there and edit these sections right here. If it's inactive, if you want to make it inactive, you can do that. If you want to accept sales in actual United States, it'll be your primary. Again, just read through all this, review all the screens and bells and whistles. And if you have any questions, if you notice up at the top, I just want to point out, If you do not intend to do international sales, remember there's a little feature here, just set it to inactive. If you want to make it active, you can select it as active. It's really that simple. You can establish languages, and again, you can always customize what are the specific countries in that specific market if dealing with international. It's also going to tell you conversion percentages, total of percentage of sales right over here. You can notice some metrics right over there. Over here, the countries that are not in any of your markets, it will tell you all the various countries that you still have an option to select. Moving further down here, apps and sales channels. If you've gone into Shopify, one of the things you're going to learn very early on is they have a slew of apps that you can actually add onto your store. And if you've added them onto your store, you're going to find them in this section here. If you uninstalled, it's right over here. Shopify App Store, you're going to access it through here. Again, this is the pre-order app that needed to be installed in order to allow pre-orders. Remember, if you've covered the section of designing your store, there's a section store that was often referred. This is the app right here. If you notice over here, you have the ability to uninstall this specific app right over here. All you have to do here is if you want to open it, you can do that. If you want to get support, if you want to uninstall and view details. Now, I will say this about the apps. There are certain third-party vendors like this one with the pre-order. If there are issues with these specific apps, you have to actually go to the vendor, and in which case, click on the three dots and go into Get Support and reach out to these vendors to get technical support. If you have any question in doubt, trust me, the technical support on the Shopify store, what they call chat advisors, will tell you, FYI, no, you'll have to go to the third-party vendor for the app, and in which case go to your settings, go to apps, find the actual vendor of that app, click here and go to Get Support, and you'll be redirected to that specific support page for that app. So that is pretty much it. This is going to be a huge app that you want to make sure you install if you intend to design on or have a store on Shopify, because you're going to find they do in fact have a lot of free features that you can actually just install and use them on designing your website. If you're doing pre-orders, you want to make sure that you choose, this is just one of many. Go to the App Store up here, type in under the search as far as the apps, and if you go here, we'll even show you real quick. If you go to Shopify App Store, you're going to see here, you're going to have the ability to literally just type in, say if you were doing pre-orders, show me all the apps on pre-orders. Here's a list of all the vendors you can choose on for pre-orders. It's really that simple. With the actual section store, you can delve deeper into the details here. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's if you want to open the app of the section store, again, opening it is just allowing you to have access to it. Certain apps are going to be an extra window in which you're delving into the third parties app, or this one in the section store really is in the house of this, and I'll cover this in a different section. So that pretty much covers up that. Let's get back into settings right now. Now, domains with the store. When you first get your Shopify store, you're going to have a domain assigned to you called, like in this case, it was the shuggy.myshopify.com. This goes without saying that Shopify is going to say first, what is the name that you want the store? It's going to say, is that name available? If it's not, if it is, it's going to assign you whatever name you chose, put a dot and say myshopify.com. You can now call this as your store URL. If you want to get a custom domain, which we did, here is the shuggy.co. This is the primary domain name, so we allowed it to be the primary domain. So if someone goes ahead and types in www, it redirects to the Shuggy. If someone types in this domain, not that they would have that domain, but it redirects to the primary. So we've established it to basically redirect to the primary. As I've said before in other sections, one of the good things about Shopify is they allow you to buy the new domain right up here. So you do have the ability to buy the new domain, connect an existing domain, or transfer the domain. Remember I said that if you buy a domain name here, you're no longer with Shopify. you can in fact transfer that specific domain name to another provider. So they're not going to limit you. I want to emphasize this again, that if you choose to use an external domain or purchase another domain externally to use as a primary custom domain, if there's issues with the CNAME on the provider's end, that is obviously going to affect the ability for people to view the Shopify store. So why do I say that? Because if you're buying a custom domain name in the world of Shopify, if there's technical issues, it's going to be resolved very quickly. If you're buying the custom domain externally, if there's an issue with the external vendor and their servers, it's going to impact people going to your Shopify store, and you're not going to have any control. So if you are choosing a custom domain, I highly recommend purchase it through shopify.com. Make your life easy, and you can avoid the mess and complication that goes along with using third-party domains from external sources. So with that being said, customer events. Customer events, you can read through here, delving deeper, manage apps and customer pixels that access customer events and enhance privacy features. Again, just read through that. It's just analyzing customer behavior, establishing all those events. Brand. It goes without saying that the whole intent of anything is to brand yourself. You have the ability to add a default logo. Over here, add a square logo. Again, add primary colors with the intent, again, as you delve into screens and whatnot, whether it's the screens of the checkouts, whether it's the screens of, or maybe even the automated emails that you're sending people, tell the Shopify store, what are your colors? Make your life easy. And that way, if you are seeing them send like emails from the system is going to know right away what is your logo, and it's going to pick up that information of your logo in here. And it's actually going to go ahead and include that in the default settings of those pages, whatever the pages is. And bear in mind that Shopify has a lot of automated screens that customers see that you do not necessarily actually have control over designing. So that'll allow you the opportunity to do that right there. Notifications. Again, customer notifications. What is the email address that customers can respond to? What is the email address that they're going to see? Recipients may see your email address as no reply at Shopify email. But from what I've heard from Chat Advisor, again, this may change, so don't quote me on it. But there are certain times in which that in fact customers will gain access to your email address. That is, again, the email address that you are telling Shopify is the email address that customers are going to see. So there's a big distinction between saying I signed up for Shopify and I used my account email address, and oh, by the way, when notifications happen and the sender email, this is what customers may potentially see as the email address. So you can always use a secondary email that's specific to what you want your customers to see. Now, notifications, you do have the ability to actually view certain notifications sent to your customers. You can go ahead and always go into order payment receipt is a good example. If you clicked on here, you can see what does that actual notification look like. Again, this is a receipt for your customers after they've paid. What are they going to physically see? You'll be able to see the subject header of that email sent to them. And the screen, if you notice here, the logo is already embedded in there. Again, when we talked about colors, this is a good example where your customers are going to receive emails. And bear in mind, I'm not 100% certain if they've customized certain colors on emails, but if this was a screen, it's going to allow them the ability to see that information based off the colors that you pre-defaulted. In certain cases, that is. So if you want to see, well, what does the order confirmation look like? Again, click into this and it's going to give you an example of what that email is going to look like for that specific customer. And if you notice down here, as I mentioned, customer information, billing address, certain informations like these default settings, you can in fact up at the top edit the code. You can send a test to yourself and it will send a test so you can see it. Here is SSM. What's it going to look like if a text is being sent? So you'll have the ability to do that. Here, SSM order confirmation is active. If you want to deactivate it, you can do that. I want to emphasize this again, as I've often said, if you edit code, by all means, you feel free to do that if you are a developer and feel comfortable. But bear in mind, again, it goes without saying that if you edit something, like something that is not something you can duplicate, and for whatever reason you edit the code wrong and the functionality is wrong, you do not have a second version to say go back to the original form. So I would not recommend doing edit code here. Even if you are a little bit of a dabbler in code, I recommend just leaving it as is. If they have the ability for you to edit notifications like in these they do through a workflow process, then by all means, kudos to you. Yes, I recommend using their user interface that is user-friendly, that will guide you through those edits to then send that information. When we talked about abandoned purchase order checkouts and abandoned checkouts, again, I'm going to cover this abandoned checkouts to show the workflow and how to edit that in another section. But here's where you would gain access to the notifications under settings, notifications, and under here you'd have the ability to edit those emails through a workflow process. So that is a slew, as you see here, of notifications. Here you have some checkouts where it says send to customers automatically after orders with tracking information are out for delivery. Again, do you want to notify them that the product is on its way to them? If yes, then select this box. Do you want to notify your customers that in fact it's been delivered based off the tracking information that's been in your store that you accounted for? By all means, feel free to do that. Again, a lot of little bells and whistles that you can make the notification to your customers seamless and more customer friendly for them to understand what's going on with their orders. Customers, again, pre-defaulted, send automatically email notifications, account logins, all that good stuff information. Even gift cards have been issued, returns, all this good stuff. Just review it, look at the template, a new order, see what it looks like via email. So you have a somewhat, even on a high level, I know it's a lot of information, but on a high level of what your customers are going to experience. But most importantly, as you set up your logo as the default in your settings of your store, make sure that you actually review some of these notifications and make sure that your logo in fact looks okay on the emails, which it should. But that being said, never assume. So custom data, again, metadata, add a custom piece of data to specific parts of your store. It's up to you if you want to do that. Here is products that gives you more detail as to set up metadata. I haven't necessarily used this much, so I'm not really going to cover it in this section. If you want to get more acclimated, by all means, feel free to Google some of this information. Look at this little learn more section and even talk to chat support. That's up to you. Now, languages. You can add specific languages to your Shopify store. Adding translations to your stores improves cross-border conversations. I want to emphasize this, no different as is they say in the YouTube world or in reality anything with translations. Please make sure that you review what's being translated if in fact you are reviewing doing different languages for your customers. You want to make sure that in fact the translator did not accidentally communicate whatever that translation is supposed to be. You can use external like Google Translator to verify information if you want to verify the languages. You don't have to get too granular, but bear in mind that if you're translating something and it's misspoken or miscommunicated, you are in essence liable for that miscommunication. But definitely review the languages, and if you want to in fact set up different languages for your store, by all means feel free to do that. Over here you notice here they even have a Shopify translate and adapt that's free, and if we click the, install, it will literally update and allow us to manage languages. This is what I meant about Shopify having tons and tons of apps, and we can go ahead and physically click install to see what that looks like right now. If you did install, see what it looks like. Translate and adapt. So here it's going to basically say localize the content in English. So let's just go ahead and get out of this because it doesn't look like it looks like it's asking us for additional pieces of information. So with that being said, that covers languages. Now let's get into policies. Now with policies, when you have a website at the bottom of your footer, or even if someone, say, logs in or creates an account, there's that little thing, check this box if you agree with our terms. Obviously, in this section, you're going to have the ability to write your refund policy, your privacy policy, your terms of service policy, your shipping policy, contact information, purchase cancellation policy, all that good stuff. And all of this, you'll have the ability to create web pages where people can literally physically click and see these policies appear on the page itself. If you want to go ahead, return rules, you want to turn that on if in fact customers can request returns and how these returns applies. Remember, we talked about returns. If you have return authorizations, don't set this feature on. If you do in fact have want to turn to allow your customers to do returns automatically through the system, by all means, then you can do that and review this section and turn this feature on if you so choose. So that covers actual policies. This we still need to update, but definitely highly recommended that you always want to have privacy policies. You always want to make sure that you communicate your returns policy, your shipping policies, and terms of service. Store account activity log. I'm not going to necessarily click on there, but it goes without saying that if you have activity in your store, you're going to be able to see it in that screen. A lot of information, but again, necessary information to get you up and running. Hopefully this gives you a quick tutorial as to what to expect when first establishing your store and all the little bells and whistles that you can do to make your customer experience absolutely perfect for your customers. And I look forward to seeing you into another section.